3, 2, 1. Okay, my friends, lunch break. Interesting comparison between a French garage and waffle, an English one. In England, we used to drink lots of tea and have regular breaks, you know, every 10-15 minutes, cup of tea. In France, it's an hour and a half, 2-hour lunch break, so kind of the same all over, isn't it? Just done in a different way. Not that I work in France. So, we've gone through the general turn it on, try it. Okay, we're not even getting any lights, so the voltage across the battery is really low. We spoke about this little gizmo here, which is very cheap, I think sort of 10-15 quid. Any supermarket's going to have them, and all you need to get started is this very basic unit here. Let me see if you can see that properly. Yeah, okay. So all you really want is voltage, DC, direct current we use on bikes and cars. Voltage AC we do use, but that's a little bit more very specific. Alternating, the alternator comes from alternating current on a bike, on a car. And in order for it to be able to be used by the components, it has to be converted to DC, but that's not relevant for the minute. We mainly use DC here, which is that symbol, direct current, and 20 is the max. If the battery goes above 20, you got serious problems. It can happen when things go down, but we're going to use voltage DC 20. You can tuck that guy in there, kind of holds it so you don't need 3 hands. See if you can see that. Yeah, kind of. So the negative probe you can just tuck in there, so you don't need 3 hands. You'll see the zeros. Away you go. Just to check that your unit, sometimes you think, is this bloody thing working? You just whip him round to this diode sign, and it should have a little sign of a speaker as well sometimes, but this is cheap and nasty, so you know they're not always that clear. But if you touch those two, I'm talking complete rubbish, because on this particular unit it doesn't have a bleeper, but it will give you numbers. So on the other ones I have, it'll give you a beep noise, but useful to have, so you don't have to keep raising your head from work. So 20 volts, let's check the battery. Black on negative, doesn't matter, it will just give you a minus symbol if you get them the wrong way around. Red on positive, and we have 0.1 of a volt. If I say in 1,000 batteries, maybe that I've checked, I've never seen 0.1 of a volt happen so fast in a breakdown. I've been smart enough to date the battery. Always have a black marker and a white marker when you're doing mechanics. When you're stripping things down, you want to line them up, take photographs, so when it goes back together you don't have to rack your brains and go to the internet and check books. You can just kind of, you know, because sometimes you'll leave things for a month in between stripping it, ordering the parts, or getting back to the job. So very useful to give yourself, to catalogue what you've done and mark what you've done. The battery's showing 0.1 of a volt. That's a catastrophic failure, almost a complete internal short. I mean, this is new to me actually. I've never seen that happen before. Normally, as I sort of said earlier, a battery would recover after a couple of days. So either the bike is on and we don't know it, and it's kind of fused into an on position and turning the keys, not turned it back off, or something else is going on. I haven't smelt any burning. I've not seen any burnt wires, so you know, let's keep digging. Let's look for. I'm by no means an automotive electrician, so I'm looking for big faults. I'm looking for big wires touching. I'm looking for contacts that have got you know, rubbish across them or bits and pieces. I'm hoping that this issue has blown a fuse and protected the rest of the electrics in the bike. I'm hoping. We're going to, as we go, if we can't get it to turn over with the button as we would in starting, we're going to have to try and turn the engine over by hand. which is easier said than done on an automatic bike. On a regular bike, you put it in gear like a car. Automatic car and manual car, two very different animals in terms of diagnosis, turning the engine over. If I turn this back wheel over, it simply is not connected to the engine. Okay, normally on a big bike, you'd put it on a stand, you'd put it in gear, and or even on the ground, you just put it in gear rock and tell you generally, is this engine in one piece or not? Am I getting what we call compression? Compression is the most rudimentary thing that you need for the engine to work. It compresses the fuel air mixture. Normally, apart from GDI and some super modern engines that Mahler have made for Formula One, you've got a stoichiometric value of 14:1. People have played with that in order to get more power. People are playing with that to get much more economy. Lean burn engines, etc, etc. But anyway, so compression, that sort of bop 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 you're getting when you push the bike in gear or let it go down a hill, for example. I could show you typically how we do that another time. We'll tell you the general state of the engine. Is it in one piece or not? More or less. It's not going to tell you much more technical than that, but it's going to get you going. On a scooter, you can't do that. I've never found a way. There probably is on the internet a way of engaging the engine to the gearbox, like a fixie on a bicycle, exactly like that. So you're always engaged. But when you're flying down a hill, you don't want to be engaged to your legs, do you? You want it to detach. So you have a ratchet in the back of a bicycle, a ratchet exactly the same as in this particular case, I'll check you can see this. In this particular case, it's a spanner. Works one way and not the other. The bicycle's the same. You hear that? A bicycle, really fast bloke in lycra going down the hill screaming at his mate about house prices. Get out the way, motorist. It's a ratchet. Same thing. So when you hear him flying down the hill, a fixie, constantly engaged. And this is constantly disengaged unless it's driving. So you can't get that hook up to what we call bump start or check the engine. So jump start is putting those big hairy wires across and starting it with an external battery. Okay, as you've seen, if you've ever broken down, if you've seen the AA man doing, or your mate's putting big wires on the car and trying to start it, you're just jumping the current from a fresh battery that works. Bump starting is getting some speed up, whacking it into gear, jumping on the thing, and hopefully it's starting. Again, it's a rudimentary way to check the condition of the engine. So let's see if we can carry on here. And first things first, which I always forget to do, is just check the fuses. I know the battery's dead, so that's the big clue. But let's try and see if it's taken fuses out. On a Vespa, we have a big main 20 or 30 amp under here. Found that out the hard way when I stripped the whole loom off the bike, found tons of water in the wiring. Thought I'd found the problem. Wiring diagrams, pulling my hair out. And there's a big fuse under here. Always learning, baby, always learning. On a Vespa, if you've got no power, this would normally jack up the seat. If you've got no power, glove box, make sure that all works, or you're in trouble. And the little lever there will do it. See, such a brilliant little design. Look at this. Little glove box, little toolkit. Nicked all the tools, of course. Look at that. Oh no, hang on. Wow. Never leave tools in it. Keys in the glove. Whoa. Never seen one of them before. Cool is that? Wonder what it is for. It's called a C-spanner. It's for steering head bearings. So, exactly like a bicycle, you want that lovely fluid motion. There's two bearings, top and bottom. Have to be done quite. It's quite a technical job, then. It has to be done. 13. has to be done quite precisely, and basically allows the steering to move around in a fluid motion, and that spanner would be to adjust that. I can't think of anything else on the bike it would be to adjust. But anyway, this glove box, wow, cool is that? Water top up is here as well. This was a little low, about 200 mils low. That could be another clue, but I don't think so. And there's a little cage under here with fuses. Again, if we long nose pliers, very cheap. These are called long nose pliers. Very useful for your more intricate stuff, pulling fuses out from that are tucked right in there, for example. And we'll just check them visually one by one. You may as well check them all while you're in there rather than checking the ones that are for ignition or something. And just, you're looking for this bridge across here, this bridge of, I think it's aluminium. And the thicker the bridge, the more current the unit can take. So the blue is 10, I think, is it? 5? Whatever it is, we'll put it back straight away. But if we have the bridge and no signs of burning, then we're good. It basically allows the correct amount of current to flow across it. And if there's too much, it's a breaker, so it just breaks. And hopefully saves your systems from fire, really, worst case, and certainly a very expensive failure. But worst case, a fire or electric shock, I suppose. Not on 12 volts, but put them back, work left to right. Don't take them all out at once because they're different amperages. And this is 7.5 brown, 7.5 amps, named after Mr. Ampere, who discovered the theory of relativity. Yeah. This time we're going to use resistance, which was that little diode guy. Actually, I'm lying. What's a diode measure? Inductance? Farads? God, it was a long time ago. Let's just go and see. You won't have voltage across here, so you won't use the V because it's not in the system. But if it's in your hand, you want to just go ahead and see. Normally they'd give you a bleep, but as we just discovered, this guy doesn't bleep. So we're looking for some resistance there. So if that goes up, essentially your fuse is good. So you've got 2 ways to check it, really. 3 ways. Visually, you're looking for that little S there that's intact. Again, you see how he's finer than the blue fuse. He's a much finer little, almost like a paperclip, if you can see that. Little S there. It's a very fine, so he's designed to blow quicker. So he'll be on a system that requires less current, requires less power. Again, don't take them all out at once. You'll get confused, put them in the wrong place, and that can lead to obvious problems because you're more likely to blow a system like that. So put that back and go on to the next. If we can. Good load. Next one I can physically see is intact. He's got a bridge across him. The other thing they allow you to do in a car, they actually give you these little, I forgot to tell you, they give you these little testing stations across the top. So if you've got like 40 or 50 in a car, you can just touch the top there. You can see that. Touch the top guy into there and touch the second guy into there. Is he blown? Damn it. 1.5 ohms. Mr. Ohm, another great scientist, I guess. Watts, Voltaire, Thomas Watts, Voltaire, volts, Mr. Ampere for amps, Mr. Faraday maybe, Farads, etc. Little 5's fine. And the last 5 is fine. Damn. You always like to find a dead fuse because it's nice and easy and away you go. But we're not that lucky today. Again, under the seat is a main fuse here. It can rot out a little bit, and I refreshed it last week, made sure it was all good under there. Another lovely feature on this, you know, other bikes might take you 20 minutes, half hour to get access to the oily bits in the engine, carburetor wiring and fuses. Look at Piaggio, look. Smart. Yeah, we got a guy under here. He's on a little clip. Tell you what, it's always nice to find clues, isn't it? Look at him. That was a fuse. Wow. Having said that, the fuse holder's all intact, so I'm a little confused. He was just dangling. Didn't see him the other night because obviously it was dark. The fuse holder itself feels all good. So let's take him out, have a look. So I did this too well. There's our spare. Again, no sign of burning in the current setup. Taped it all up the other day. Cleaned it all to give better connection because the holder's a bit sort of comme ci, comme ça. So just a little bit of insulating tape and